can sustain a culture during that time. As the population shrinks, so does the culture. As of 2007, the fertility rate in France was 1.8, England 1.6, Greece 1.3, Germany 1.3, Italy 1.2, Spain 1.1. Across the entire European Union of 31 countries, the fertility is a mere 1.38. Historical research tells us these numbers are impossible to reverse. In a matter of years, Europe as we know it will cease to exist.
Blue Monday, how I hate Blue Monday. Got to work like a slave all day. Here come Tuesday.
It is the Savage Nation. Look, if you want good news and good time, Charlie Malarkey, I'm not the guy for you. I tend to be very moody. I also tend to be a realist. Yes, I have a great sense of humor sometimes, but sometimes I'm just like chalk on a blackboard when I come along with the facts like this. It's really frightening to look at the Islamization of Europe, because although the birth rates for Europeans are very, very low and not sustainable, the birth rates for Muslim immigrants, a goodly percentage of whom do not work and are on welfare, staying home, living off the fat of the land, are extremely high. And it's no different in America, where, again, immigration is responsible for the changing demographics of America. And yet, despite what the swine in Congress will tell you, despite what the swine in the liberal media will tell you, an online survey of more than 42,000 Catholic, mainline Protestant, born-again Protestant, and even Jewish voters released at the end of December by the Center for Immigration Studies, which is a very liberal group, showed that by wide margins, believers say that the level of immigration is too high, that it is largely due to lax enforcement, and that immigrants take jobs away from American workers. These beliefs held sway even among Jewish voters, who are among the most liberal Americans, and even for Catholics whose leadership has been among the most active in pushing immigration reform, meaning illegal immigration, noting that the Catholic Church in the U.S. is a community of immigrants that is still growing thanks largely to immigration. In other words, the Catholics realize the church is dying, and without the Hispanics, the church would be dead completely. So for their own reasons, they want comprehensive immigration reform, which means amnesty for illegal aliens. But if you look at the 42,000 people surveyed, Catholic, mainline Protestant, born-again Protestant, and Jewish voters, the largest majority in all religions say that the level of immigration is too high. It is largely due to lax enforcement, and that immigrants take jobs away from American workers. But they're not even aware of the fact that America is a dying nation, that without immigrants, let us say, the America would die altogether, because the white people are not having babies. And that's what I want to talk about. Why have Caucasians stopped having babies? That's what I really want to focus on. Why have we seen this happen in the United States of America over a period of 20 years, one generation? Because biologically, you define a generation in terms of years by 20 years. I remember my early studies in genetics. That's what it used to be defined as. A generation is 20 years, meaning every 20 years you have a new generation. So you think about that one. So who did it to us? Who stole the hearts and minds of the young 20 years ago or 25 years ago and have made European Americans virtually extinct in the coming years, the coming decades? I named four of them. Allen Ginsberg twisted the soul of American youth. Timothy Leary destroyed the mind of the American youth with LSD. William Kunstler destroyed the law in America. And Bella Abzug, an early feminist, destroyed the hearts of the women in the United States of America. This is my view of things. How we have gone in just 2 generations from one flew over the cuckoo's nest to one flew over the cuckold's nest. And the phone number here is, look, I have dark humor, which is why I posted that thing on the 2Generation deal up on michaelsavage.com. Everyone loves that one. And they're going to it in droves, the downloading it, the exclusive from I Love Lucy to I Love Loosely and Obama the Destroyer. And we've been talking about nukes and all of that, light stuff today, very light Monday stuff, real light stuff. But I want to stick to the light question of why have white people stopped having children? I really want to stick to that. Who did it to us? How did it happen? How can it be reversed? I have ideas. You put me in charge of this. I could change this. One man could change the whole picture. I would slam the door on immigration. I would pointedly select the countries of origin, the status of the immigrants. I would cut off all welfare to immigrants of any kind. No welfare for 50 years. Never mind 5 years. You're not going to come here and live on this land like so many of the bums do from the Middle East. And don't tell me I can't say it. I've studied this. They sit on their fat behinds, smoking their hookahs and knocking out babies, and you're paying for it, you schmuck, while Senator Turbin Durbin represents them. But who represents you? Who represents you, the schmuck taxpayer? We read last week that 47% of 1 out of 2 families doesn't pay any taxes. Under Obama, it's gone up like 10 points. How did this happen that in 1 year, a percentage, 10 points of the population went on the dole? They pay no taxes, rather. How is it possible that 1 out of 2 families pays no taxes? And they're going to vote themselves raises. And they love Obamacare. They love it. Because it's something for nothing, they think. But it's not for nothing. You're going to pay for it. You, the worker, will pay for it. So if you think these are disconnected questions, you're wrong. They're all interconnected. And it's all coming from the same moronic liberal elite, so-called, that has ruined the United States of America and will destroy it altogether unless this is reversed. There are ways to reverse this. Stop immigration, no welfare for immigrants, deport illegal immigrants in jail. That's for a starter. Then have a healthy discussion in America of which immigrants do we want? Do we need professionals or do we need people on welfare to sit in their houses smoking hookahs? Which one do you want coming in? Bums sitting around having children that you pay for? Or do you want doctors and engineers and scientists coming in, if they come in at all? And should they bring $100,000 equivalent in order to start themselves in America, or don't let them in at all? You see, Canada had this policy. They saw what was happening in Canada, and they put a stop to it. Unfortunately, they didn't stop it enough. And then, of course, you incentivize children, having of children. You give massive tax credits for families with children, and you increase those incentives for families that stay together longer than 5 years. At the 5th year, they actually get a payment from the government for having stayed together. In other words, there's a way to incentivize families instead of punishing families the way the government has been doing ever since the 1970s. They have punished families. Now, let's put aside the fact that the slime in the media, the liberal slime from Sunset Boulevard and Broadway in New York, hate families, hate the nuclear family, despise the church. They're the ones behind attacking the Catholic Church right now. Let's forget that swine, that whole swinish group for a minute. We understand that they've put down the family for a long enough period of time. That doesn't mean that people have stopped having children. The largest number of children being born amongst Caucasian people is amongst evangelical Christians, which is why they are hated by the swine in the liberal elite. I'll go on.